Hey, hi! Do you recognize me? I'm Victoria, but everyone calls me Tai. Just a couple of weeks ago, I told you what it was like to grow up in a Chinese monastery. Remember that? If you haven't watched the first part of my story, click on the link in the description. Don't forget to come back, though. My adventures were just getting started. Xiao and I came back to the monastery after our long tour and became an item. We had grown really close after all. It was hard to believe we used to be rivals. However, we weren't sure we would be allowed to be together, so we asked my monk fathers for advice. Oh, children, love is wonderful, but the rules of the monastery forbid students from dating. We are very sorry. Is there really no way for us to be together? I would do anything to be Tai's boyfriend. Alas, these rules have existed for centuries. They are not to be broken. Oh, that sucked. After everything we've been through, Xiao and I couldn't just give up. We decided to hide our relationship from everyone. During the day, we acted like ordinary students and tried to keep our heads down. We only went on dates under the cover of night. A couple of years went by. We turned 18. It was time for something in our lives to change. The moon is beautiful today, isn't it? Hey, Tai, are you okay? It's just that lately, you seem like you had a lot on your mind. Yeah, I'm all right. It's just, Xiao, I want us to be a real family. What about you? I'm sorry I didn't tell you earlier, but I'm going to become a monk mentor, so I won't be able to marry. Oh, that was quite a shock. Xiao wanted to spend the rest of his life in the monastery. He even started to prepare for the monk trials. Abbott Wei Ming was going to appoint the worthiest student the new mentor. Don't you want to see what else life has to offer? Before Xiao could say anything, we heard footsteps and ran to our rooms to hide. The monastery was visited by thousands of tourists from all over the world every year. The next morning, one of them came up to me after practice. He wanted to know how a girl ended up living in a monastery for boys. Well, it's a long story. Oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I am a travel blogger with millions of subscribers. They'd love to hear your story. I agreed to give him an interview, so he turned on his camera and I told him about being left by the monastery gates as a baby and everything that happened after that. To be honest, I didn't believe that anyone would be interested in my story. I couldn't have been more wrong. The tourist wasn't lying. He was a really popular blogger, and a lot of people watched the video as soon as it was posted. I instantly became famous. After that, other bloggers, journalists, and reporters flocked to the monastery. All of them were dying to film me. It brought some excitement to my life, and I enjoyed it. Can you do something on camera that would make our audience go, wow? Something like this? Abbott Wei Ming called me over and harshly scolded me. Tai, your behavior is unacceptable. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. But isn't this good for the monastery? A lot of tourists come here to see me. Exactly. I don't want crowds of people sniffing around here. I had no right to argue with an elder. Still, he was acting suspicious. Could it be that he had something to hide? Ever since that day, Abbott Wei Ming became much stricter. He sent me out to gather herbs alone and made me stand motionless in the rain all through the night. Long story short, he did everything to show me he didn't like me. I didn't complain and did everything he told me to do. One day, a movie director came to the monastery. He found out about my incredible story and wanted to film a movie about it. More than that, he wanted me to star as myself. I wanted to do it. However, I couldn't agree without consulting my loved ones first. So, I told the director I would give him an answer later and went to Xiao. I know I can't stop you, Tai, but it hurts to think our paths might diverge. I didn't want to lose Xiao either, but he decided to become a monk, and I was still looking for myself. Later, I talked to my mentors. Tai, child, life is going to test you. You need to choose your path. My fathers always spoke in riddles. They were never wrong, though, so I prepared for trials ahead. One day, I was on duty at the monastery gates when I heard a baby crying outside. What? Could we have visitors so late? I carefully looked outside and saw a basket with a baby in it. It was a girl. I couldn't believe it. I had once been left by the gates just like her. I found a note next to the baby. Most of the text was blurred because of the rain, and I could only read two words: heaven and parents. Hush, baby. Everything's going to be all right. I brought her inside and carried her to the elders' council the next morning. I wanted to ask them for permission to let her stay. She could be like me and grow up brave and strong. That is not going to happen. We've already made an exception for you, Tai, and you've been nothing but trouble. No more girls. Wei Ming was the head of the council, so there was nothing I could do. Even my fathers could only helplessly shrug. What's going to happen to the girl? You found her, so you are responsible for her. Go to the city and find her parents. Don't come back until you do. The council is adjourned. I expected more from the elders. Still, I didn't despair. On the contrary, I was delighted. The trials my father had talked about had begun. I said goodbye to Xiao and my mentors. took the baby and went to the city. Come on, baby. Adventure awaits. By the way, I should give you a name. What about Meili? The baby laughed. She must have liked the name. I didn't know where to look for her parents or how long my adventure would last. That's why as soon as I arrived in the city, I found the director and told him I would star in his movie. After all, I needed money to take care of the child. I knew you would make the right choice. We signed a contract and I checked into a hotel with a great view of the metropolis. I read the script and took care of Meili at the same time. The baby was always there for me. I even brought her to the set and played with her between takes. The break is over. It's time to film the scene with the sharks. By the way, there's a mistake in the script. I never jumped into a shark pool. It's not a mistake. I added that scene because I think the audience will love it. Well, okay then. I shrugged and went to the set. I didn't need a stuntman and did everything myself like Jackie Chan. After all, I was well prepared and knew Kung Fu. Stop. Cut. Tai, that was great. The next day was my day off. I decided to look for Meili's parents. The note said something about the heaven. Maybe your mom and dad are pilots? I brought the baby to a local airline office. Unfortunately, that yielded no results. None of their employees had recently had children. Okay, that was just our first guess. No need to get upset. In the evening, I came to the monastery. Xiao had been preparing for his trials for a while now. It was time for the final test. I knew that if my boyfriend succeeded and became a monk, we would have to break up. After all, monks took a vow of celibacy. Despite that, I wanted to support Xiao and cheer him on. He was amazing! As agile as a tiger and as strong as a dragon. Xiao showed them everything he was capable of. Meanwhile, a guy named Bohai failed all the tests. The poor guy didn't even manage to balance a bowl of water on his head. Even the youngest kids at our monastery could do that. Oh, it fell. This task is dumb. It was obvious Xiao won. Imagine everyone's shock when Abbott Wei Ming appointed the clumsy Bohai the new mentor, and not Xiao. It was absurd, but no one dared to argue with the elder. Poor Xiao was gutted. I don't get it. Did I do worse than Bohai? You were the best. Everyone saw that. Maybe being a monk is not for me. I'm sorry, Tai. I want to be alone now. I have a lot to think about. I did everything to cheer him up. Eventually, I came back to the city. After all, I couldn't stay in the monastery until I completed my own mission. Time went by. I kept acting and looking for Meili's parents. To my surprise, I grew fond of the baby. Some people even mistook me for her mom. Tai, you're amazing. Raising a daughter and building a career at the same time must be tough. Oh no, I'm just her babysitter. I love this baby with all my heart though. One day, the director asked me to take part in a press conference to promote the movie. There were a lot of reporters there. I realized that was my chance and told Meili's story to the whole country. I hoped it would help me find her parents. My plan worked. The very next day, the baby became a sensation. Meili's pictures were everywhere. The little girl became famous, even though she didn't know how to talk yet. Several days later, a woman knocked on my door. You found my girl. Oh, I'm so glad. I want to take her home. Are you Meili's mom? Yes, the mother of this sweet girl. Give her to me. Something about her seemed suspicious to me. I asked her what was written in the note I'd found in the basket with the baby. It was a shopping list? Wrong. Goodbye. I slammed the door in her face because I realized that she was just a fraud, and she wasn't the only one who wanted to use the baby's fame to get rich. More and more people claimed they were Meili's parents. However, none of them knew what was in that note, and I quickly sent them away. The real relatives of the girl never showed up. To be honest, a part of me was glad. After all, I grew to love the baby. It was scary to think that sooner or later we would have to part. One day, I took the girl out for a walk. We found ourselves in a neighborhood full of luxury cottages. I happened to see Abbott Wei Ming by one of them as he was getting out of a posh car. He was wearing expensive clothes. I hardly recognized him and even thought I was mistaken at first. But then Bohai came up to him. That was suspicious. I hid to eavesdrop. Dad, you did a great job. Now I'm a mentor. That's so cool. Just remember, don't tell anyone you are my son. It was nuts. So that's why Bohai won the competition. I asked the neighbors about Wei Ming and found out he had a family and owned a successful business. Simply put, the Abbott led a double life that was strictly forbidden by our ancient rules. I couldn't let him get away with it and immediately headed to the monastery. Xiao was there. He couldn't accept a fee and blamed himself for not being good enough. Trying to comfort him, I gently hugged him and kissed him on the cheek. Xiao, baby, you are the worthiest of all. It's just that they cheated. What do you mean? I was about to answer when one of the elders walked in and saw me hugging Xiao. He was furious and immediately reported us. The elders held an emergency council meeting. At first, Wei Ming scolded my mentor fathers for allegedly not teaching me any respect. Then came the worst part. You know that relationships between students are strictly forbidden. Tai, you are the biggest disgrace to our glorious monastery. Letting you stay here was a mistake. At the end of his fiery speech. Wei Ming said that he was expelling us from the monastery. You know what? No need to kick me out. I was about to leave anyway because you are a two-faced crook. Then I told them everything I had found out. Wei Ming hadn't expected that. He was speechless. The other monks demanded an explanation. You should have seen them. Meanwhile, I took Xiao's hand and quietly left. They should deal with the corruption themselves. I brought Xiao to the hotel where I was staying. Xiao was shocked since everything he believed in turned out to be a lie. But after a few days, he calmed down. Tai, I've been thinking a lot about your words and realized you were right. I want to see what else life has to offer. I was glad we wouldn't have to break up and introduce Xiao to the director. He agreed to give my boyfriend a role in the movie. Time went by. We worked on the set and took care of Mei Li together. And one evening, a poorly dressed woman knocked on my door. She said she could shed some light on the baby's origins. This is my neighbor's kid. They were quite poor, but were over the moon when their daughter was born. Unfortunately, they died a few weeks ago. The baby had no one. I couldn't adopt her, so I brought her to you. I thought she was yet another fraud, but then she said what was written in the note. Her parents are in heaven now. Please take care of her. I had no more doubts after that. Everything finally made sense. I said goodbye to the woman and told Xiao everything. Now we know how Mei Li ended up at the monastery. This is so sad though. She's an orphan after all. She has no one. My boyfriend gently took my hands into his and looked into my eyes. What do you mean no one? She has us. The three of us can become a real family, just like you've always wanted. Tears of joy streamed down my face. We were in this together. Xiao and I decided to adopt and raise Mei Li. Aren't we forgetting something? What do you mean? He suddenly got down on one knee and handed me a ring. Marry me. Of course I said yes. We had a small but beautiful wedding ceremony. All our loved ones were there, including my monk fathers. They congratulated us and told us that after the scandal, Wei Ming had been kicked out of the monastery. Now, they were the heads of the council. The rules are the same for everyone. No one is exempt from them. We will honor the tradition of our monastery. However, you can't come back. After all, you have chosen your path. May it lead you to happiness, child. I was grateful for everything they had done for me, but it was time for me to live my own life. We hugged and promised to visit each other. Soon, we finished filming the movie. Xiao and I are looking forward to starring in new interesting films. We will try very hard to become good parents so that Mei Li could look up to us. Please like our story and tell us what you think in the comments down below. See you in the new private diary videos.